My trust in people disappeared in an instant. I was the victim of a deception that had been years in the making, but I found a way to get revenge. Find out how at the end of this story. It was one of those slow-burning September evenings where the air still held a trace of summer, thick and quiet. I'd just come home from work, tossing my keys in the bowl by the door, when I saw it, an envelope tucked into the day's pile of mail. It wasn't addressed directly to me, just our last name and street number. No return address, no stamp. I opened it, expecting a flyer or junk ad, but inside was a handwritten letter in looping, elegant script. It started with 3 words that slammed through my chest like a hammer. To my flame. It wasn't my handwriting, and it sure as hell wasn't my language. The writer spoke about years stolen by fear and nights we should have owned. It was the kind of letter you write when you're aching for someone you've touched recently, not a relic from the past. I finished it with numb fingers, folded it back into the envelope, and slid it deep into the drawer with old receipts and our passports. When Clara came into the kitchen humming, asking if we had any ice for the wine, I smiled like nothing had happened. Later that night, I asked casually about it. She didn't flinch, just laughed and said it was from an old college friend, someone she used to joke with. I nodded, didn't push. But the name at the bottom of the letter, just an initial, lingered in my mind like a splinter I couldn't reach. A few days later, I found a bottle of wine in the freezer. Not just any bottle, the same kind we drank once when I got promoted. We toasted in a hotel suite she had rented, spent a night like we were rich and young again. That bottle had meant something. Now it sat half hidden behind a bag of frozen peas. When I asked, she said a coworker gave it to her. I didn't ask more. I just added it to the growing list of details that didn't sit right. We moved through the week like everything was fine. The kids yelled and played. The dog barked at squirrels, and Clara moved around me like she had somewhere else to be. It all hit a deeper nerve the night I woke up before the baby. Her side of the bed was cold. I checked the time. 2:47 a.m. I wandered the house barefoot, checking doors, windows. Nothing. I called her straight to voicemail. She walked in at 3:10, hair damp, face blank. I asked where she went. "Pharmacy," she said. No bag, no receipt, no explanation. I didn't believe her, but I nodded anyway. I told myself I was imagining things, that the letter was innocent, that the wine was just a fluke. But it kept scratching at me. And when the tension started burning through my skin, I made a call to my brother. He's good with tech. I told him I needed to recover deleted files from Clara's tablet. Said it was for a work thing. He didn't ask questions. He sent me a folder the next morning. Inside were photos. Clara in soft lighting, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. Her body curved into another man's arms. He had a thick neck, ink curling around it like a vine. In one shot, she was straddling him in the front seat of a car. Another, on a hotel bed. I stared at them until the screen blurred. Then I closed it, stood up, and made breakfast for the kids like I always did. That night, I read a bedtime story with my daughter curled up beside me, her breath slowing, trusting. My voice didn't shake once, and when she asked for another, I read it. I tucked her in. I kissed her forehead. I sat in the dark afterward, watching the ceiling fan spin. The photo of Clara still burned into my brain. Something inside me had started to change. Not anger, not even heartbreak. It was something quieter, colder, a switch flipping that I didn't know I had. I hadn't said anything yet, but I would. Not now, not in words. I just needed time. The nights grew colder, not just in the weather, but in the silence between us. Clara stopped kissing me on the cheek when she left for work. She used to do it without thinking, like blinking or breathing. Now she grabbed her keys and mumbled something about meetings, deadlines, errands. She barely looked at me, and still, I said nothing. I studied her movements the way you watch a wasp near your face. Slow, careful, not blinking, knowing it'll sting if you push too soon. It happened again, a week later. The baby's cry sliced through the dark like a siren. I stirred and reached across the bed, and again she was gone. The clock read 2:47 a.m. Same as before. My gut clenched like it had muscle memory of betrayal. I checked my phone. Opened the security cam app. The front door had opened at 2:12 a.m. No return recorded. I waited, each minute crawling across my chest like it had weight. At 3:10, she came back through the door. Quiet as fog. No apology, no bag. Just the faint smell of lavender and something else. Something sweet and heavy, not hers. She went straight to the bathroom, didn't speak. In the morning, I asked where she'd gone. She said the same thing. The pharmacy. I looked at her a second longer than I meant to, but I still didn't challenge it. She filled a sippy cup for our son and asked what time the birthday party started next weekend, like nothing had happened. I answered, smiled, played my part like I always did. But the second she left the room, I started planning. I called my brother again, this time more direct. I told him I needed access to every deleted file, photo, message, everything from her tablet, and if he could, her phone too. He said it would take time. I told him to take what he needed. Then I waited. And while I waited, I studied her more. The subtle shift in her laugh. The way she checked her phone more when she thought I wasn't looking. She didn't lock it. She didn't need to. Clara was smart. She deleted everything as she went, scrubbed the trail. But no one deletes everything. Not really. 3 days later, I had what I asked for. The folder was titled Recovered. Inside were screenshots of texts, some blurry but still legible. Miss you already, one read. Same room next week? Another had a selfie. Clara in pale lingerie, biting her lip, posing in our bathroom mirror. She'd sent it to a contact saved as B. My chest got tight. Not the heartbreak kind. It was deeper than that, like pressure building under a frozen lake. I clicked further. A video loaded. Grainy, short, just a few seconds, but clear enough. Clara, arms wrapped around a man, straddling him, his neck tattoo curled into view. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stood up, walked into the kids' room, and kissed their foreheads while they slept. My daughter murmured something and rolled over, clutching her blanket tighter. I just watched her for a moment. Then I walked back to the living room, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall until my legs went numb. That weekend, Clara said she was going to the gym. Normally, she'd rush out in leggings and a ponytail, headphones in, water bottle clutched like a ritual. But this time, she spent 20 minutes on her makeup. I watched from the hallway, unseen. When she left, I followed, 2 cars behind, lights off. She didn't go to the gym. She went to a country club, a golf course tucked between hills with a white-columned clubhouse and tennis courts in the back. I parked down the road, walked through the trees, stayed low. From behind a row of hedges, I watched her step out of the car. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even check her phone. A man in a dark shirt walked up, arms open. The same neck tattoo. She smiled like I hadn't seen her smile in months. They kissed. Long, slow, familiar. I took a photo. Just one. Then I turned and walked back to my car before the rage pushed me to do something I couldn't take back. When I got home, I went to the bathroom. I locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror. The man who let it happen, who smiled through it, who kissed the traitor goodnight without knowing her mouth still tasted like someone else. I punched the mirror without thinking. It shattered under my fist like ice. The glass cut deep, blood splashing across the sink and my knuckles. I wrapped it in a towel and sat on the floor, chest heaving, trying not to wake the kids. I told Clara I'd dropped something. She didn't even look up from her phone. The next morning, I told work I needed time off. I packed a bag, loaded the truck, and drove into the mountains without telling anyone where I was going. I had an old trailer up there, left to me by my uncle, and for 7 days I lived in it like a ghost. No phone, no distractions, just me, the trees, and the thoughts I didn't have time to push down anymore. I trained with a crossbow I hadn't touched in years. I ran through the woods until my lungs burned. I read old army manuals, meditated by a lake, and let the silence chew through every lie I'd swallowed since that damn letter showed up in the mail. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I planned. I sharpened something in myself, something I didn't know I still had. I stopped thinking like a husband. I stopped thinking like a victim. I started thinking like a hunter. This wasn't going to be a blow-up, not some TV moment of yelling and throwing plates. What she did wasn't just cheating. It was betrayal laced with poison. And I wasn't just going to punish her. I was going to make the story stick. I was going to make it unforgettable. Coming back from the mountains, I didn't feel like a man recovering. I felt like one becoming. My voice had steadied. My hands didn't shake anymore. The anger wasn't gone, but it had frozen into something quieter, more precise. I moved through the house without noise, fixing things that didn't need fixing. I told Clara I was rewiring the garage light. In truth, I was installing a motion-triggered camera hidden behind an old speaker I'd gutted weeks ago. Clara often cleaned the garage late at night. I wanted to see what that really meant. 3 nights later, at 11:42 p.m., my phone pinged. Motion detected. I lay in bed, screen dimmed, watching the feed from my hidden camera. She walked in first, barefoot, hair tied back, no cleaning supplies in hand. A minute later, he stepped through the door, the same man with the neck tattoo. They barely spoke. He lifted her up and she wrapped herself around him. They had sex on the hood of my car. That car had taken our kids to school, our son to the hospital when he had that fever. Now it was their altar. I saved the footage, watched it again once, just once, and stored it on a locked drive. The next morning, I barely looked at Clara. I didn't need to. The facts were sharp enough now to cut through anything she might say. Later that day, I went to the bank. Clara handled our finances, but lately some things weren't adding up. I asked to see the full history of our accounts. Buried on the second page was an $18,000 wire transfer. The signature beside it was mine, but the handwriting was hers. It had gone to an unfamiliar account. That was when I realized this wasn't just an affair. It was a dismantling, a quiet, precise theft of money, of trust, of time. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Around 3 in the morning, I got up to get a sweater. While digging in the closet, something slid out and hit the floor. An envelope. A lab logo printed in the corner. My stomach knotted. I opened it with trembling hands. DNA test results. 2 pages. Short summary. Paternity probability, 0%. I read it again. Still the same. Our son, my son, wasn't mine. I sank to the floor, the paper trembling between my fingers. My heart didn't just break, it caved in. But even then, I didn't cry. Not yet. The worst part was, I still loved the boy. I still would. But the betrayal reached deeper than I thought possible. She had looked me in the eyes every day and let me believe he was mine. The next morning, I made pancakes. I helped pack lunches. I smiled like a man who hadn't just watched the ground collapse under his life. Clara breezed through the kitchen in a rush, kissed my cheek, called me a good man. I told her I knew. 2 days later, I hosted our daughter's birthday party. Streamers, cake, family everywhere. Clara laughed like a woman with nothing to hide. I smiled with her, put my arm around her waist, played my role. After cake, I announced a new game. Family mystery. Everyone got an envelope. When Clara opened hers, I watched her eyes. No gasp, just silence. Inside was a USB drive, the garage footage, 3 stills, the forged transfer, and the DNA results. She stood, walked out the door without a word. Everyone stared, waiting for an answer that never came. That night, she called from an unknown number. Her voice cracked. She said she was pregnant. I paused for just a breath before answering. I already have 1 son who's not mine. I don't need a second. I hung up. In the morning, I got a text. Your Clara is with me now. You lost. I stared at the message for a long time. 10 words lit on the screen like a taunt. Your Clara is with me now. You lost. The number wasn't saved, but I already knew who it was. The same man from the garage, the photos, the car hood. The man who didn't just take my wife, he took her with a smirk, like he was doing me a favor. I didn't reply. I saved the number and called someone I hadn't talked to in months. Sean, an old friend from college, now in law enforcement. Not the kind with a desk and badge on the chest. He worked cybercrime, knew how to trace phones, hide signals, dig up what people thought they'd buried. I didn't give details, just told him I needed a trace run on a burner number. 24 hours later, he texted me an address, a last known location, and a name. The man Clara ran off with. His real name wasn't Brandon like she once claimed. It was Eric Brandt, a name with a record. Fraud, credit scams, two outstanding warrants out of Nevada and Florida. Clara hadn't just betrayed me, she'd thrown herself into the arms of a criminal and called it love. The police had been after him for over a year. I didn't hesitate. I handed everything to Sean. The phone number, the security footage, the financial transfer data. It was enough. 2 nights later, I drove to the airport. I wasn't there to fly anywhere. I just had a feeling. I parked where I could see the front entrance, waited with a coffee that went cold twice. Around 11:30 p.m., I saw them, walking fast, both wearing sunglasses even though it was night. She looked thinner, paler. Her hair was tied back like she hadn't washed it in days. Eric had his hand on her lower back like he owned her. That same neck tattoo curled up under his collar like a snake waiting to bite. They didn't make it far. 2 unmarked cars rolled up beside them. Lights flashed once. Shouting, hands raised. Clara tried to run. She didn't make it 5 steps before they cuffed her. She screamed something. I couldn't hear what. I watched through my windshield, phone in hand, recording every second. She twisted, fighting the cuffs like she could reverse what she'd done if she just pulled hard enough. But there's no undoing that kind of rot. I posted the video an hour later. No caption at first, just the footage. Then I added 5 words. Series finale, next up, new season. It spread faster than I expected. I didn't care about views or comments. It wasn't for them. It was for me. My version of the truth. Not a confrontation, not revenge. Just reality, filmed in clean light, no edits. Let the world draw its own conclusions. Clara tried calling the next day. From jail, I assumed. I didn't answer. I forwarded the number to a voicemail that didn't exist. She called again 2 days later. Then again. I let it all pile up. Voicemails I would never hear. Texts I would never read. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. The kind of done that comes after you've watched the whole building burn and you're still standing in the smoke. A week after the arrest, I filed for full custody. Clara's name on the paperwork felt like a distant echo. Her own family backed me. Her sister came to court to testify that Clara had disappeared for days at a time, leaving the kids with vague excuses. Her cousin handed over screenshots of texts that painted the full picture. Lies layered over more lies, stitched together with fake smiles and half-truths. The judge didn't take long. Full custody awarded. No visitation rights until Clara could provide a stable residence. Clean record and 6 months of consistent therapy, which, given her charges, wouldn't happen anytime soon. A month passed. The air in the house felt different, less heavy. I cleared out the garage, tossed the old speaker, deleted the camera feed. The car got detailed, every corner scrubbed until it no longer smelled like betrayal. The kids laughed more. My daughter stopped asking where Mom was. My son still clung to his blanket at night, but he started smiling when I sang. One Sunday afternoon, we had a picnic at the park. Sun out, grass soft under the blanket. A woman sat nearby, reading a book while her dog chased squirrels. She had kind eyes, quiet energy. My daughter wandered over and started petting the dog without asking. The woman looked up and smiled. Her name was Nina, a school psychologist. Divorced, no kids of her own. We talked while the children played, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to fake anything. Her laugh was light, not rehearsed. I didn't tell her much about Clara. Not yet, just that I was starting over, one step at a time. As the sun started to set, my phone rang. A new number again. I answered without thinking, maybe out of habit. It was her, Clara. Her voice was low, almost unrecognizable. She didn't ask about the kids. She didn't apologize. She just asked, "Do you think about me at all?" I stared at the park, at my kids running in circles, at Nina tossing a stick for the dog. Then I said, "Don't call here. You don't exist here anymore." I ended the call, deleted the number, and turned the phone off. Then I leaned back on the grass and let the moment wash over me. For the first time in 6 months, I felt the kind of peace you don't have to earn, the kind you just let happen when the noise fades, and the future's finally silent enough to hear. Peace is a strange thing. You don't realize how loud your life's been until everything goes quiet. After the arrest, after court, after Clara's voice stopped slipping through the cracks of my phone at odd hours, The silence settled like dust on everything. No more tension behind the walls. No more scanning faces in the parking lot. Just my house, my kids, and the sound of cartoons bleeding into the hum of the dishwasher. I thought maybe that would be the end of it, like things could level out. But there are parts of betrayal that linger long after the storm passes. They settle into the floorboards, curl up in the shadows of your routines. Clara was gone. That much was true. Officially, publicly. She was still out on bail, with restrictions, living at her mother's house across state lines. Her lawyer reached out once, asking for visitation through supervised channels. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The judge's order was clear. My silence was just punctuation. But the fallout wasn't done. The money she stole, the 18 grand, had vanished. Eric had funneled it into dummy accounts, spread it thin, burned it on flights, hotels, and whatever else their fantasy required. The bank recovered nothing. Legally, it was theft. Emotionally, it was worse. That money had been for the kids' future, college, safety, options I couldn't replace now. I spent nights doing math, budgeting down to the decimal, cutting corners that hadn't existed before. And every time I trimmed another piece off our life, I saw her face. Not the crying one from the squad car. The other one, the smiling one, caught mid-lie, thinking I was still too blind to see it. One evening, my daughter asked if Mom was still in the timeout place. I told her yes, but it wasn't forever. Her eyes narrowed, like she was old enough now to smell a soft answer. "Do you miss her?" she asked. I paused. Not because I didn't have the answer, but because I wasn't sure how much of it she could handle. "No," I said. "Not the version of her that left." Later that night, after they were asleep, I opened the old drawer again. The one where I'd hidden that first letter. The one that started all of it. It was still there, folded neatly like it belonged among bills and birthday cards. I read it again. Same handwriting, same words. To my flame. But now it didn't sting. It just felt small, like something left behind by someone who thought they were bigger than they were. I didn't throw it away. Not yet. I wanted it to sit there a little longer, a reminder that even fire burns out eventually. Nina and I kept talking, slowly, carefully. We'd meet at the park after school drop-offs or grab coffee on the weekends when my brother came by to watch the kids. She never pried. She never asked for the full story, but she understood what silence meant. She knew how to speak in pauses. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was oxygen. And after months of choking on lies, I wasn't about to rush anything. She laughed easily, even when I didn't. She asked about the kids more than she asked about me. That said a lot. Then one night, I came home late from a store run, and the house felt off. The lights were all on, though I'd turned them off when I left. The back door was cracked open, just an inch. Nothing was missing, but something had changed. A photo frame had been knocked off the hallway wall, the one of all four of us at the zoo from last summer. The glass wasn't broken, but the frame was tilted, lying crooked on the ground like someone had brushed past it in a hurry. I checked the cameras. Nothing. They'd been disabled. Not just turned off, wiped. Someone had known exactly where to look. I called Sean again, told him someone had been inside. He sent over a friend off the record. The guy walked through the house, checked for signs of forced entry, found none, but the locks had slight scratches, fresh, a new key or a tool. Someone who'd been here before, someone who still had access. Clara. I couldn't prove it, not legally, but instinct is louder than evidence sometimes. I changed every lock in the house that night. Windows, garage, even the gate. Then I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the old family photo, and I realized something that made my stomach twist. I'd never gotten back that spare set of keys I gave her after our son was born. She must have kept them, waiting, watching, maybe not to come back, but to remind me she could. The next day I told Nina everything, not the sugar-coated version, the full truth. From the letter to the videos to the DNA test. Her eyes didn't change. She just nodded and asked if I was okay. I said I didn't know. That night she dropped off a gift for my daughter, a storybook about animals who lose their way and find their own kind again. She didn't stay long, just long enough to remind me that not everyone disappears when things get hard. 2 days later, Clara's mother called me. First time in months. Her voice was trembling. She asked if Clara had contacted me. I told her no. She said Clara had gone missing. Again. Took off in the night. Left no note. Her phone was off. Her bail officer had no idea where she was. Just gone. I didn't answer right away. I didn't tell her about the lights, the door, the photo frame. I just said, I'll let you know if she calls. But I knew she wouldn't. Not to say goodbye, not to apologize. She had left pieces of herself behind, and maybe that's all she meant to do. Not to come back, just to remind me that she could have, that she still lived in the echoes, and maybe she always would. After Clara disappeared again, the house changed. Not in a dramatic way, nothing broken, no doors kicked in, but the quiet was different, watchful. I checked the locks more than usual, walked the rooms before bed like some ritual I couldn't shake. The kids stayed clueless, thank God. They laughed, played, left toys in every corner like the world was fine. But I couldn't relax, not with her out there, not with no word, no warning. Then came the message. Unknown number, just a photo. Clara on a balcony, hair dyed darker, shorter. She stood next to a man I'd never seen. Miami, palm trees, some luxury high-rise in the background. She was smiling, but it looked forced. The message said, "Found her before you did." I didn't reply. I sent the photo to Sean. Within the hour, he had the metadata, location traced, name of the building, rental info. She was with someone new, not Eric. Word was Eric tried scamming her family for more bail money, and she'd left him when the fantasy collapsed. This new guy was just another replacement. Sean told me federal charges were stacking. He advised me to stay out of it. She's collapsing on her own, he said. Don't get close to the blast. That night, I considered checking flights to Miami. I opened the tab, hovered over the options, then shut the laptop. I didn't need to see her. I didn't want to. I already knew how that would go. Later, Nina stopped by. The kids had invited her over to help build a blanket fort. I let her in, and for a while the night felt simple. Watching her help them tape sheets to chairs, crawl around pretending to be a dragon, it warmed something in me. No lies, no games, just real moments. She wasn't trying to replace anyone. She was just here. After the kids were asleep, we sat on the porch. I got a voicemail, Clara's voice, low and slurred. I just want to come home, she said. He hit me. He took everything. Please, Sam. I didn't play it again. I didn't even save it. Just left the phone face down on the table. Nina looked at me but didn't press. She knew. Some people can read silence like a book. The next morning, I called Clara's mother, told her about the message. She hadn't heard from Clara in weeks. Her voice cracked when she thanked me. Said she wasn't sure if she should keep hoping or just start grieving. 2 days later, Clara was picked up at a bus station near Orlando. She had no luggage, no money, a fake ID, and a face full of bruises. Arrested quietly. No drama, no resistance. Just empty eyes and broken posture. Sean sent me a photo. She looked like a ghost, hollow, hair matted, barefoot on the station floor. There was no triumph in it, no justice, just the ending she earned, quietly arriving on its own time. That night I drove to the station, didn't go in, just parked across the street, coffee going cold in my hand. I watched as they led her out, cuffed and silent. No one met her there, not friends, not family, not even the new guy. I recorded it, just like before. One clean video. I posted it again. This time the caption was short. Final rerun. No return gate. Then I drove home. The house was quiet, warm. The kids were asleep. The blanket fort still standing in the living room. A sticky note was taped to the window. Daddy, the dragons fell asleep. Come inside. And finally I did. Clara didn't call again. After the video at the bus station spread, the silence from her side became permanent. No more voicemails, no more midnight texts from numbers I didn't know. Her case moved quickly. Warrants consolidated, bail revoked. Her public defender filed a plea deal. I didn't follow the details closely. The final pieces of her story played out without me. She was just a name in a system now, a case number, a record. I spent those next few weeks pulling our lives into focus. The house got lighter. The rooms breathed again. I repainted the bedroom, changed the curtains, boxed up everything Clara left behind, every scarf, every perfume bottle, every fake smile trapped in a frame. I didn't burn any of it. I just stored it in the attic like a sealed chapter. Something for the kids to find years from now, if they wanted the whole truth. Nina became part of the rhythm, but slowly. No overnight bags, no toothbrush in the bathroom. Just breakfast with the kids on weekends. Her voice reading books at bedtime, her car parked out front with the windows cracked just enough for the breeze. The kids called her Miss Nina, like it was her full name. I never corrected them. She never tried to be their mother. That made it easier to trust her. The court finalized everything. Full custody, child support obligations voided, Clara's parental rights frozen until further notice. Even her family stopped asking. Her mother sent birthday gifts for the kids but didn't sign her name on the cards anymore. Just from Grandma. One evening, about a month after it all settled, I took the kids to the lake. Same one I went to after the mirror. We stayed till the sun dropped low. My daughter ran through the trees chasing fireflies. My son toddled after her, holding a stick like it was a sword. Nina sat beside me on the old bench by the dock, not saying much, just watching. "Do you think she'll ever come back?" I asked, not even sure why I said it out loud. Nina glanced at me, then toward the water. Not the way she left. And that was it. On the drive home, I passed by the motel Clara had stayed in once when she claimed to be at a conference. It was shut down now. Boarded windows, graffiti on the door. That place had held one of the many lies she fed me with a soft voice and steady hands. Now it was just another dead thing in the background. That night I got one last letter, handwritten. No return address. Just my name in familiar handwriting on the front. Inside were 3 pages. Apologies, regrets, the usual loop. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know what I was doing." He promised things I was stupid enough to believe. She said prison had cleared her head, that every night she lay awake thinking about the life she burned through like it would last forever. She said she didn't want forgiveness, just a chance to say it out loud. "You didn't deserve what I did to you." There was no ask, no request to see the kids, no promise to change, just an ending she wrote for herself. I read it once, folded it, and placed it in the same drawer where her first letter still lived, the one that called her his flame. Now she'd written her own ashes. The next morning, the sun came through the windows without asking permission. The kids crawled into my bed, piled under the blanket like puppies. I made pancakes. Nina joined us. She brought a new book for my daughter and one of those toy cars that lights up for my son. We drank coffee on the porch while the kids ran wild in the yard. Nothing big happened. Just peace. Steady, earned peace. Later, I went up to the attic alone, pulled down the box. Inside were the letters, the photos, the test results. I took out the DNA envelope last, held it for a while. Then I carried everything to the fire pit behind the house. One by one, I dropped them in, watched the pages curl, blacken, and lift into the sky. Let her burn. Let it all burn. And as the last ember died out, I walked back to the house where my kids were laughing, where the porch light was warm, and Nina was setting the table. That was my season now. This was my story, and she didn't exist in it anymore. That's all for now, folks. Thank you for being with me today and listened. And if you liked my story, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below what you think about all this, and what would you do if you were me. Also, don't forget to check my other stories in description below.